Hey everyone, how are you tonight? Or some of you, it's in the morning. So we're going to be going live with Philip Gabbard, the author of THISday. I'm very excited to talk about this with Philip. So I hope you guys definitely enjoy this live video. So Philip is. Let's get this going on. Got several questions for Philip. Hi, Philip. Welcome.
Good morning, Matt. How are you? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good. It's evening here. Good morning to you.
Yeah, I love it that we're together and 13 hours away, 13 hours apart.
Yeah. How do you like the shirt? And the book.
Hey, that is fantastic. That is awesome. I love it. I love that you have that. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. You look fine on my
So
side.
maybe on your side, but we'll just try to deal with it. You were lagging there, so hopefully it stays steady throughout the whole thing.
All right.
Yeah?
Fantastic.
Yeah. Cool. So I was talking a little bit about your book before you jumped on, but I just wanted to say how much I appreciate this book that you wrote. You put your heart into it. It's probably one of the most unique books that I read this year, so it's definitely up at the top of one of my favorite books this year. And I just love your blunt honesty. Not necessarily blunt, but you are very clear with the fact that not everyone is going to like this book. I really loved it, but I know that not everyone would love it. And maybe because it doesn't fit the conformity of a bunch of other books that have been written before it. It's not really in the format of a book that you would expect, but it has a really good through line. Like, it is really easily understandable, and I highly recommend it to everyone who is watching it. So could you introduce yourself and maybe about why you wrote the book, and just talk a little bit about it?
I will. Thank you. It is different, and I think I set forth with an objective not to write a book for anybody except for myself. I use this process to think, and I had a lot of things to get out there. As you now know, I write differently, and that shows up in a conversation about conformity. I write differently because I want to think different, and I want to be different, and I want to act different, behave different. But there's a lot of things that keep making us come back to this center that I call conformity. It is those things that are helpful in life, that are important in life, but at some point in life, we might feel stuck, or that we're not heard or listened to. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of identify this as, standing in line and, raising your hand and not speaking to be called on. It can shut us down. And so while I wasn't with a bucket list objective to write a book, the act of writing, the kind of this cathartic, purge of feeling came out, and I was in breakdown. I had, enormous successes in my life. And when you lose it all, or it feels like you're losing it all, which is another kind of level of understanding of this ego of sympathy of, my poor life just because I lost some money, or, you start feeling these certain ways, then how are we going to articulate ourselves out of this?
Mm-hmm.
And so this book, I guess part of the onion that we unravel in this day is the fact that it takes some bravery to step up and to share authentically. And who am I to tell you what that is? And that's what makes this book different. It is a self-help book, but I am not a guy that's going to tell you how to fix yourself. I'm going to show you through my words that I shared how it went for me, how my journey has gone, and how my journey's still going. But I found power and capability and honesty and really revealing and ripping open and kind of bleeding on as I told story after story about how this day has gone for me and how it might go for you and those who have read it. So it's almost like a group therapy without the group, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I love how you describe it. I mean, of course, you were the one that wrote it, so you probably described it best. So, but my 2 cents on that are, I love the fact that you tell the readers that, well, I'm not going to tell you how to do it because you need to figure that out for yourself, but I will show you how I did it myself. And through that, we can learn from your experiences. And I think that's one of the most amazing things about reading books in general is we can read from the author's perspective and learn a whole lot. So I feel like your book has a whole lot of value because of that. And you've gone through a whole lot of wide variety of experiences that you probably didn't know like exactly what to put in the book, but man, it's really exciting to read this stuff. And you're coming out with another book, right?
I am. I wrote so much during this process that obviously, again, for this expression of this day, I needed to be concise and keep it kind of contained and as random as life is and as random as I write. This day does come off. You'll notice as you're reading this, you're like, where in the world is he going? I bounce from conversation to conversation to conversation. That's what we do in our normal conversations. It's what we do in life. Life hits us at its own periodic pace. We have no real control in all of that. However, not everything again, I didn't objectively try to shove every thought into it. And so, yeah, I do have a manuscript that is completed and it's off into edit. I will hope to have it out later this year, maybe early next year. But I'm as thrilled about a continuation of a conversation and specifically how we thrive. And that is a concept of that I'm really passionate about, that I've wrote a lot about, and I am trying to figure out thrive. And I think I have will be able to communicate a really powerful, deconstruction of what thrive and thrivation is.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to that book. But
thank you.
If you haven't read this one, then, then definitely read it first before you read it.
They'll be like bookends. They'll be this day and all days. It'll be a nice. It'll be a nice compliment.
Yeah, dude, I'm really looking forward to it. So another question for you about this day is, what do you want people to get from this day? Just in general, what do you want people to get from this book?
I think that's a great question that I didn't go in there objectively going, what do I want somebody to get? Now that it's said and done, what I want them to get is maybe a recognition of how they are conformists, how we all are. Recognizing the things that we don't do, and we, the crimes we commit against ourselves and, our spirituality and everything through the things that we say and believe to be true. Most things that we've learned have been told to us. That's just how it is. That's how we believe. We don't talk about politics in this family, or don't talk about politics. That's bad for business. We've been conformed. We've been told. I talk specifically about Christianity, how most of us have not read the Bible, or some of the Bible. We know the hits. We do that when we listen to music. You remember the lyrics when you hear the tunes, but you're not thinking about what the words mean. So we're listening actively. All of these things come at us so fast, but how we live our lives has been really told to us. And I think there's an enrichment, a betterment in our experience, personal experiences, when we understand that the power of our words shape our thoughts and form our feelings. And when and nobody's talking about, a lot of people talk about feelings and and thought, but when it's the words that form them. And so if we choose the wrong words, or lazy words like hate and always and never, and these really definitive and sometimes combative words, it puts us in a position of, it disempowers us, and it can get us stuck. I answered your question in a very long, dissertation of what it is, but it's complex, right? Life is complex. How can we simplify it? Use better words.
Yeah, words really do have a whole lot of power, and that's one of the other aspects that I absolutely loved about your book. I've read about words before. I've read about public speaking a whole lot, and to everyone watching, words really do have a whole lot of power. So when we study about what types of words we use, and just become more aware about the types of words we use, that's going to make a huge impact in your life. It's going to make a huge impact in the way people perceive you. So I really love the fact that you bring up this fact many times throughout the book. I think that's probably the thing that really ties everything together. At least one aspect that ties everything together is the usage of words.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. That's awesome. We can learn a whole lot from that. Words are power. I mean,
thanks for noticing.
Books are written with words.
Thanks for. Well, yeah. So there's ways to figure out conversations and the struggles that we have. We have an issue with our boss or with our kid. Parents do this all the time. We tell our kids to clean their room over and over and over again, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. And you might recall this from the book.
Yes.
If I say those things to my kid over and over, and that fractures the relationship of my kid for some reason at some level on their end, for my need for them to clean their room, and that in time forges a bad relationship with my child, or some unfavorable feelings that my child has against me, is it worth having a clean room? And I argue no. What matters is my relationship in those words. And here I'm using these combative words to get something that I want, that I'm telling them to do. I take it from there and go a lot of different places throughout the book. It's important, and we see it in every aspect of our life.
Yeah, it's also on another layer on top of that is the way that we say the words.
Hmm.
how we look when we say the words, right?
Yeah.
That's a whole nother level. Um, and I'm not sure if you touch on that. I don't think you do, right? The whole,
No,
yeah. But
no,
I mean,
there's things that we can get from when we go into a conversation with intention. It's kind of like going into a supermarket without a grocery list. You come out with crazy things that you never thought you would ever have. But if you go in with a specific idea, you can come away with specific, goods and so forth out of a conversation. And so having a laundry list is certainly valid, but you've got to objectively look and go, what kind of possibility can I create in my words? What kind of possibility can I create in a conversation?
mhm.
Because a lot of times we just want to say this, I need this and I want that, or you're a jerk, or, you know, the takeaways and the leave behinds of our words, they can cut and they can hurt and they can separate and divide when there's no care or concern given to the gravitas of what our words can do.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing about that. We all can learn from that for sure. I want to share one of my favorite quotes
Okay.
from your book. It's actually it's right in the beginning. So let me read it to you, to everyone. So I am the sum total of everything I have ever seen, heard, and believed. They all have influenced me, and they hit me in waves of periodically and random. So what do you feel is the one most impactful, or what can you say about this quote? And maybe you can share like a impactful situation in your life that we can learn from.
Specifically, that was at the beginning of the book where I really talk about all of these influences in my life. A lot of it has been music, but I also grew up on self-help books too. I was, 30 years in advertising as a marketer, and I make TV commercials and radio commercials for a living.
Mm-hmm.
So self-help and understanding all of that was very powerful for me. But this art and this, why I love this music, um, these people showed up in everything that I've done throughout my life. And we are the sum total of what we surround ourselves with. They say that about our friends. We are the sum total of the five closest friends. You've heard it said, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Mm-hmm.
There is this learning in the lesson when you listen and you just shut up for a little while and absorb it, you know. Um, let those feelings come back to you. Let them be your Congress. Let them be the thing that helps you decide how to approach certain tough things in our lives. We should all be thankful for having positivity in our life, and we should all learn how to wield it. And I have been proud of that I can call on these strengths of that others have put out there. I think of these songs that people write, and how vulnerable, how scared they have, how to write the words to play them in front of people. This is how powerful those, words are. They had to share them with somebody. And I got to that point in my life, about sharing these words. So that was the genesis of the quote. A quote that matters to me, um, specifically is really, there's two. It's the hypocrisy um, in us. It's hard to spot our own hypocrisies. So that's the hard thing about enlightenment, is that hypocrisy hates confrontation. Um, that's a tough one. And then the element of tribe and tribalism.
Mm-hmm.
Belong not to the tribe. And I think that's a tough one for people. We want to have, or as an organism, we have a sense of belonging and the need to be uh, wanted and liked and be like. Um, So there's a lot of powerful conversations had in this book. Those are at the top of my list.
Cool, cool. I want to say one more thing. Have an impact in our life. And that's why I'm so adamant personally about the influence of books and minimizing like usage of social media and playing games. And because really, you know, if we do things that are going to waste our time every single day, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we're not going to really accomplish anything. So that's why I connect so well with this quote, because I personally am the type of person that wants to achieve a whole lot, wants to make a huge difference in not just the people around me, but the whole world, right? So I love this quote, and I hope people embody it and read your book too, because there's little snippets of this type of thing throughout your whole book.
Yeah.
That is going to, if we embody those takeaways, if we try to implement them in our life, we learn from your experiences, we become better people. Mm-hmm. So that's why I love your book so much, Phil. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Can't wait to read your next one. I keep on saying it, but yeah.
I think, you know, you are a lifelong learner. And that means that you want to try things new, and you want to have an awakening. You want to act like you don't know it all, because who does, right? Having these kind of experiences is what all of us should pursue. But many of us get stuck in this way of like, this is how I am. This is the way God made me. And I want to push back on those people and say, that's the furthest from the truth. These are things that our ego tells ourselves to believe in and to hold on and, you know, to feel secure with. And so I give pushback on some self-help books. To be truthful, I think they've been manipulative and trying to tell somebody how to feel and how to think and how to whatever with their life. And my general concern is that there's an irreverency in the world, meaning like people are starting to care less. And it takes lifelong learners who have a pursuit to understand, to want to figure things out that are complex. And This Day is complex, and it's a hard book to review, right? I put it out there and I'm like, I have no idea how the world is going to receive this, because it is a hard, it's different. It doesn't look like every other book. And it's a hard book to review. It's a hard book, but that's life. You know, most of us, you know, what's this day about? You know, it's about a lot of things, you know. That's what life is. It's not simplistic. I can't put it in an elevator pitch for everybody. And sometimes we want to, you know, oh, this day is about a cat and a dog and a life and how it all turns out wonderful. And if you do these 5 steps, you know, you're going to live, you know, this wonderful experience. It's not that simple. This day is not a simple conversation. It is for thinkers. And I'll expose some things in you to make you ask questions, whether it's with your personal or, you know, boss or language or animals, you know, whatever life gives us. I think this day can really help unpack and ask some really good questions of how we, what options we have to do navigating through this day.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, that kind of goes back to the point that you were saying about conformity, right? The whole point about, you know, the people striving to achieve more, yet most people are living a life of conformity, or as I would call it, mediocrity. I think part of that has to do with the fact that maybe a lot of people don't know what sort of direction they want to go to, or just want the easy way out, right?
Yeah.
I would say most people
They
come
feel
home
held
from
down.
work.
Yeah, we get stuck. That's how I refer to it. We get stuck. We feel held down or tamped down or clamped down. Like, the man has got us down. The government's got us down. There is a glass ceiling on things. There is control. There is conformity at every level of our lives, and we sometimes kid ourselves that we have freedom. And freedom is really a subjective word.
Yeah, yeah. So, what would you suggest for people to break out of their conformity, to make themselves uncomfortable and grow?
For me, for me, I had to lose something. I had to be. Sometimes there has to be bad to understand the good, and maybe that's a part of life. It was in breakdown. I had to figure out how to pick myself up. We all do this. Life is unfair and it's cruel, and people can be mean, and we have goals and aspirations that we sometimes just don't meet, or there's a barrier stopping us. And before you reach to your shelf and pull off a self-help book to, get you fired up in the morning and, fill you full of affirmations of can do, you probably should have a really tough conversation with you about what matters in life and keep it real. Because if I start acting like somebody else, some idiot who I am not, you're a follower. You're not a leader. You're not an originator of thought. You're not an originator of your life. You are subject to following the path that somebody, tells you to follow.
Awesome, Phil. Thank you so much for sharing. Absolutely correct, our audience says. I think they
Cool.
loved that.
Awesome.
Yes, they loved that. Well said. I think I'm going to break that thing that you just said and just make that one clip right there. Really good stuff.
Awesome.
Just that clip. Now, just a couple more questions. So why should our listeners, our watchers, read your book? That's a tough question, I know, but I just want to hear it from you, and I think they do too.
We have a chance to be better. I could be a better dad, a better parent, a better coach, a better boss, a better worker, a better lover, a better helper. I could do a lot of things if I listen a little more intently and think about objectively what I want my words to do for me.
Mm-hmm.
How I want them to make you feel, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
How I want them to make me feel, because I can control them. I certainly understand the meanings of them. That's why I think this book is for everybody. I'm an everyman. I am not a doctor. I'm not famous. I'm not anything. I am me. I struggled. I have a voice. It took me forever to share this, man. It scared the shit out of me to put this book into the world because I might be found out. I'm the first one to tell you that I was the hypocrite, that I was ignorant, that I had lost my way. It's tough, it's tough to be exposed. And some of us, how do we break through? Sometimes we have to break down, or sometimes we can see in others that inspires us to do better for ourselves. It's like you said before, it's not a tough read, you know, technically or any other way, but it is a confronting read. It will ask questions of you that make you go, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, definitely. It's got a whole lot of great info packed in here. I'm so happy that I was able to read it. So happy that I was able to share it with the Bookmatic audience. And are you still there? Oops, I think we're lagging here a little bit. So yeah, I'm very, very happy. Hopefully Phil comes back here in just a second. But yeah, I mean, this book is well worth your time. It's well worth your investment. And like out with the second book later this year. So really hope that you guys pick this book up. And if Phil comes back, I'll maybe have him say some last words about his book. And he is back. So I'm going to add him back in the chat. Live. So yeah, this is one of the most impactful books this year. You're back.
That was weird.
Yeah, just connecting. So yeah, I mean, I really do appreciate you sharing this with us, and I really do hope that people pick it up. Is there any last words that you would like to say?
Thank you. The coolest thing that happened, because I was willing to share, was to meet really cool people like yourself from around the world that I think is more of a blessing and a synchronicity of me sharing some words. Had I not spoke up and said certain things and put myself out there, I wouldn't be experiencing what I have from going through this process of writing a book and sharing this day. So I'm happy to have you in my life because of this day. And that is symbolic to what we all should be doing with our lives, is talking and putting real things out into the world so we can meet and connect and talk about our commonalities and our differences and make things square and right and complete. It's tough enough without having all of those elements. So thank you, Matt. Thank you very much for the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really love that last point you mentioned about just putting stuff out there. Because if you never put it out there, it's never going to get seen. If we're conforming to or being afraid of putting something out there, yeah, it's never going to get seen. So that advice right there, if you learned anything from this live video, that advice is probably one of the best.
Thanks.
Create, write, film, whatever it may be. Reach for whatever goals you're working towards. So thank you so much for coming on, Phil. We all appreciate it. We appreciate you, everyone. Pick up THISday by Philip Gabbard.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. All right, guys, have a great night. Have a great day, Philip.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.